lesson 7.2 and 7.3 have us building the drill block, and they have us creating the section view in 7.2 and doing the chain dimensioning and identifying the hole types, and then they have us modifying that and doing specific tolerances and changing the chain dimensioning into baseline or datum dimensioning and adding a bunch of specific tolerances to specific parts. So rather than do this as two separate activities, we're just going to do the same activity twice on a size B drawing sheet. So this is what in essence it should look like, and again we're going back to this drill block, so we're going to start just with the drill block. Of course, if this isn't already created, we're going to do a standard IDW drawing. And then in order to have both drill blocks fit on one sheet, we'll edit the sheet, make it size B paper, which is 11 by 17. And the first thing we're going to want to do, all we're going to need to do, is bring in this top view. Okay, so we'll bring in the top view of the drill block, or actually it's going to be the front view that we want. Depends how you build it, but we want the view showing all the holes. Okay, and rather than do a bunch of projections, all we really need to do with this block is a section view. Well, you'll notice up here we have some of the other views for doing section, auxiliary section detail views. So let's do a section view. Now to do a section view, we want to make sure we're in the middle of this. So if you notice, if I find the middle of one of my circles, one of my holes, and I drag it to the side, I can stay connected to the midpoint with the little dotted line that we see there. And then I'm just going to draw the line all the way across, making sure I'm going through the middle, and then right click to continue. And then pull it up, and now we have the drill block. Okay, and you're going to need to bring in a second version of that too. The next thing we want to do, of course, we have some center points. So this is just putting some dimensions on. All those holes get center points. Overall dimensions, 3 inches, and there's those baseline dimensions. And then if we remember, this was those holes in the original drawing were chained together. So I'm going to create the original drawing was, all those were chained together. So if I use the chain tool, all I got to do is click all my center points, drag down to the first dotted line. So there's my chain dimensions, and then of course I still need the overall dimension, the overall width. So I have my width, my height, and my depth. The other part that's not dimensioned is the holes are not dimensioned. So of course we have the hole tool, and if I point at the hole, the information should follow. As a part of this activity, I want you to add the text to classify that hole. So of course this hole, and that'll be a nice vocabulary reminder and a nice sheet for your notebook. That hole, of course, is a blind counterbore. It's a blind counterbore because it's the counterbore hole. We can see the flat recess to accept the screw head, and it's blind because it doesn't go through. My next hole, of course, is a through hole. And what type of hole is it? If it's got an angled head, of course that would be a countersink hole. The next hole, and here we'll see this is what happens, and somehow I made the same mistake too. Oh, that's because I clicked the dimension tool instead of the hole tool, so that would be wrong. Okay, I would have to manually type my hole note, make sure I click the hole tool, and when I click the hole tool, there we go, now it takes the through information with it. Now again, hole note should never be horizontal or vertical, so if you pull it in like this, then that will be wrong. It needs to be pulled off at an angle, or you can also go the other direction, but I'll just keep them going all the same way. So this hole, of course, that also could be classified as a clearance hole. And the fourth hole would also be classified as a blind counterbore. One of the things that you'll also notice, this was a 0.375 diameter on the original specification, and we're not seeing all three decimal places. Okay, so in order for all three decimal places to show up, I'm going to have to edit the hole note. When I do that, again, we only want to have dimensions as precise as are necessary, so I'm going to click my precision and tolerance, and the global precision typically is set as 2 decimal places on Inventor. So I want to uncheck global precision, and it's the counterbore diameter that needs 3 decimals of precision. So I'm going to have to select that counterbore diameter and change that to 3 decimals of precision, and that will change my counterbore diameter to 0.375 instead of rounding the value. One of the other things that we do need to pay attention to, of course, is the spacing. And some of you on your drawings, you get careless and lazy. My numbers are running into my title block. So you have to be careful with your spacing of where you're putting things. Oh, that's going to cause me to have to move my text. Okay, we don't want things running into our don't want text running into the borders or into the title block, and of course we got to make sure things are placed so it's easy to read and understand. Okay, so this would be the part of the activity to conclude 7.2. Would be just to pull in the section view, which shows the hole profiles. That paints a better picture of what the block looks like, of the interior features, rather than just all the holes. So I'm going to pause the video, and then we'll do the specific tolerances on the and do datum dimensioning on the second drawing.